Yo, what's going on, you guys? Your boy Devvon Raw in raw form, and welcome to another Help Me Devvon Raw tutorial. And today, in this Help Me Devvon Raw tutorial, I'll be showing you guys why I like to use multiple compressors for just one vocal. Now, basically, I'm going to show you how I got this vocal using multiple compressors. Listen close.
I don't know what happened. We went from being so cool to every day we snapping. Maybe we just need some time apart, or maybe these four walls finally closing in on you. Yeah.
Okay, so it's one of my own songs, and basically I'm going to show you how and why I use multiple compressors to achieve a vocal sound that I'm comfortable with, that I like, and that sits a lot better in the mix for me personally instead of just using one. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you guys to comment, like, and subscribe before we go any further. Also, remember you can visit helpmedevvon.info at any time, link in the description, to get some of our templates, vocal chain presets, stuff that I've used as far as presets like this vocal are at that store, helpmedevvon.info. Visit at any time and make sure you subscribe. It helps to keep this channel going. Now, when it comes to my compression and why I like to use multiple compressors on it is, I usually, or sometimes, a lot of times, go for 3 types of compression as far as how I approach it when I'm looking at my vocal. I like to use one compressor for level. And when I say level, basically that's me controlling some of those peaks and basically getting some more volume out of the vocal. My second one I like to use is for color. And my third one, I like to say it's for taming. So with this combination is basically, this is the way I like to always approach my compression. And I don't want to say always, but a lot of times I'll say I approach my compression. So I approach my first compressor, I approach it with the control in mind as far as getting level and a little bit of control. My second is color. And my third that I like to use compression wise is for taming. I'll explain all of this. Let's just go through it step by step. Okay. So first and foremost, let's solo the vocal that I just played for you. Let's go over here. It's actually one of my own songs. It's called Week 3. It's out. I'll leave the description in the bio, just in case you guys ask for that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off everything that I have on this vocal before the compression begins, before any compression begins. So I'm taking off all 3 of the main compressors that I'm using to achieve that sound. Okay, so let's come on over to my first compressor. Now, remember what I told you guys. The first compressor, as far as what I'm using, is to get level and basically a little bit of control out of the vocal. So let me play you the vocal without compression on it at all. Check this out. Let's take this off. Let's bring this up here. And listen to this. This is with no compression at all.
I don't know what happened. We went from being so cool to every day we snapping. Maybe we just need some time apart.
So you hear the vocal. Those dynamics are kind of all over the place. I like the dynamics, but I know that when it comes to mixing, those dynamics as far as the difference between the quietest sound and the loudest sound are a little bit big in the sense of some parts are just going to poke out heavier than others. Listen to this part right here. Check this out.
Maybe we just need some time apart.
So you hear that part, it kind of pokes out a little bit, and I know that I kind of want to get that a little bit more controlled. So this is where compression comes in, and this is how you know, hey, I think I need compression. When you're trying to control the dynamics or those moments that are quiet and loud and get them to be a little bit more concise with the rest of the actual other vocal. Okay, so I come on over here to my first compressor, and I'm basically using this first compressor to get level and a little bit of control. When I say level, I'm basically saying to myself, hey, I want to get this vocal a lot louder in the sense of I know that it has to compete with the instrumental, you know what I mean? So for me, it's just that I know I want to get the vocal a lot louder, but at the same time control those peaks and bring those down so that the vocal can sit a little better inside of the actual mix. So what I like to do for my first compressor, I like the CLA 76 so much, and I use this all the time. Basically what I'm doing is I'm using an extremely, literally the slowest attack, and I'm using the fastest release. And this is not an always thing. This is just particularly for this one. I'm using an extremely slow attack because I don't want the transients to get squashed so much for the first compressor. I want my transients to still cut through, meaning those constants and those moments to really still cut through with a little bit of control And also with the release being fast, I want those transients to still cut through as well. So like I said, I'm using a slow attack and a faster release to get those transients a little under control and to get some more level out of the vocal. So listen to this without first, and I'll keep bypassing it back and forth. Listen close.
Maybe we just need some time apart.
I'll come back over here. Listen close.
I don't know what happened. We went from being so cool to every day we snapping. Maybe we just need some time apart.
So I got a lot more level out of the vocal, and at the same time I also got some compression, just some compression in a sense of taming some of those peaks so that the vocal feels a little bit more concise all the way through. So I used this first compressor just to get level. Now I know what a lot of you are saying, hey, well, it got louder and shouldn't you be matching the gain? Well, for me, and I know my ears, for the first compressor, I'm literally just trying to get level. I'm trying to get a louder sound, and that's what I'm trying to accomplish with my first compressor a lot of the times. Not always, but for this particular song, I knew that the vocal needed to be louder, so I used this compressor to do that, just for this compressor. When I go forward, the other compressors, I'm pretty much going to be gain staging and making sure that I'm level matching. But for the first compressor, I'm really trying to get level out of it with a little bit control on the peaks so that I can get more level out of the entire sound as in its totality. Okay, so basically you see it, I was getting basic about 10 dB of compression. That is not something I stick to, but for this particular song, I like to get a nice kind of heavier compression as far as making sure I control it so I can get more level. Realize the more compression I put on this, the more level I can crank and get out of it. So that's why I basically messed around with that 10 dB of compression. Let's look at it again. Pay attention to the gain reduction over here.
I don't know what happened. We went from being so cool to every day we snapping.
So you'll see most of my peaks are pretty much hitting about that 10 dB range just to get a little bit of compression and control those transients just a little bit more. I'm much happier with it inside my mix. Listen closely, I'll bypass it back and forth as it plays. Listen to it close.
I don't know what happened. We went from being so cool to every day we snapping. Whoa. Maybe we just need some time apart.
So now it feels a lot more concise within the actual mix. What you're gonna notice with the compression is also that those loud moments that I was like, oh, that needs to get more controlled, the quieter moments are now raised in volume to kind of match those louder moments. So now the vocal feels a lot tighter in the mix as opposed to being this disparity between the quietest sound and the loudest sound. We went from this dynamically to more like this dynamically. And that's what I was trying to accomplish. And once I got this dynamic, I turned it up some more because I had more headroom as far as to push it because I controlled these peaks. That's what I like to use for my first compressor as far as controlling those peaks and making it and getting some more level. Okay, let's move on to my next compressor. So now that I got some level, now that I've controlled my peaks a little bit, it's time for me to add some color. Now, when I say color, I mean this in a sense of I want to get a tone. I want to feel some of the nuances and harmonics of that vocal. I want to see what I can find harmonically or tonally to bring out. Tonally can range from words like dark, brighter, upfront. So for this vocal, I knew that it's more of a poppier sound for my vocals, and I wanted to feel like ballady. I wanted to really cut through and be in your face. A particular compressor that I like that really does a good job of bringing vocals really up front and bringing it to the face tonally is the RVox. And I love using the RVox to bring vocals more up front as far as the color that it adds. What I'll do is I'll bypass it back and forth. I'll solo it and let you hear what it does to this vocal. Pay attention really close. I'm going to bypass it back and forth without first.
I don't know what happened. We went from being so cool to every day we snapping. Maybe we just need some time apart. Or maybe this phone was finally closing in on you. Yeah. Or maybe I spent way too much time around you. So tonally, I can feel like the RVox gave me some body that I didn't even realize wasn't there. It really brought the vocals more up front
Yes, this is added compression, but nowhere near as much compression as it did with the first compressor. I am using compression in different stages. The first compressor was giving me about 10 dB of gain reduction. My next compressor is giving me around 3 to 5 dB of gain reduction. I'm using compression in multiple stages and splitting up the workload. But on top of splitting up the workload, I'm also getting certain characteristics from different compressors because they all sound different. They all have a tonality, a character to them. So when it came to the RBox, I like the RBox because I felt like it brought my vocals more up front, still gave me some more compression and control, but I just like the overall tone that it gave me. And that's what I like to accomplish with my second compressor. So I'll play this in the mix with and without. Let me bypass it back and forth without first, and then I'll keep punching it back and forth. Listen close.
I don't know what happened. We went from being so cool to every day we snapping. Whoa. Maybe we just need some time apart. Maybe these formals finally closing in on you. Yeah.
It just helps the entire vocal sit a little bit stronger in the mix. It made it pop and stand up on it a little bit, and that's with the compression. But tonality wise, it just has this presence to it that it brought out of the vocal that I love and adore, and that came from using the RBox. So for my second compressor, that was me getting tone. I like the tone that this one created, very upfront, very in the face, and that's what I did with my second compressor as far as what I was trying to accomplish. We can look at this closely, and we can also analyze how much gain reduction I was getting. Let's take a look.
I don't know what happened. We went from being so cool to every day we snapping.
So I was getting only about 3 dB of gain reduction on this vocal for this particular RVox for this next stage. And that's because I really just liked the way it sounded when it hit right there at that 3 dB. It felt sweet, felt really good, and that's basically what I did. You'll also notice that on the gain right here, I turned it down. The reason why I turned it down is because I didn't want my ears to fool me, and I wanted to match the volume of what I already had coming out of the original first compressor, so that I knew exactly what it was doing. So this is something important too. Once I got my level, I said, okay, this level right here sits well in my mix, so I want everything to kind of stay within this parameter. So you'll notice that I turned down the RVox because the RVox brought out some more volume as I brought some more compression in, and I wanted to match that from the original, so I knew I just want to hear what it's doing tonal wise. So that's why I matched it right there, and that's why you see it actually turned down, to keep the level the same and not to fool my ears, because louder always sounds better to us from a psychoacoustic standpoint. Okay, the last compressor that I went for, which I do have more compression in here, but I'll get to that another day. I'm just going to teach you about this 3-step kind of compression thing that I do as far as using multiple compressors. For this last compressor, this is my most important to me. I like to use my last compressor to tame. And the reason why, or what I mean when I say I use my last compressor to tame, is I'm basically trying to find an attack and release setting that fits and feels good musically within the song. Understand this. When you're using compression and you're trying to figure out your attack and release settings, you have to understand this is some type of, I guess you could say, think of it like a pumping factor, where you're basically adding compression, and this compression is attacking and releasing, attacking and releasing. So you have to find that perfect place, or the place that feels the best, where the attack and releasing is happening in a musical way, in a sense, or in a place that, or in a way that feels good within the music. Realize, if I have a kick and it's kicking, boom, 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 that kind of attack and release setting would be fast attack, or excuse me, a slow attack and a fast release, in the sense of it's letting the transient go and it's releasing really fast. When it comes to that kick, the release is very important in an EDM record, because it needs to release really fast, in a sense, so that it kind of cuts through the mix and breathes. Boom, 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 boom. If you have an EDM song, you have a release that's really slow. Think about it. Boom. If it's like boom, 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 it's not really moving with the music at all. This is moving with the music from a release standpoint. Boom, 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 boom. As opposed to a slow release, boom, 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 boom. It's not gonna feel musical. You're gonna notice that kick doesn't feel like it sits. So this does apply for a vocal. If you have a vocal and you're trying to set those attack and release, you kind of want it to move within the music somewhat, or feel the best. So when it comes to this last compressor or this third compressor, I am trying to tame. I'm trying to find the correct attack and release settings that feel right, that feel like a glue to the actual mix. Okay, so I'm gonna bypass this back and forth. Listen to what it sounds like.
I don't know what happened. We went from being so cool to every day we snapping. Maybe we just need some time apart. Or maybe these four walls finally closing in on you. Yeah.
Okay, so you can hear what it is doing, but the best way to actually show you what it did is to play it in context with the music. So listen to this very closely. I'm gonna bypass this back and forth while it is playing with the actual music. Listen close to this. So let me solo this. Let me put this over here. And now listen to this within the context of the music without first.
I don't know what happened. We went from being so cool to every day we snapping. Maybe we just need some time apart. Or maybe these four walls finally closing in on you. Yeah. Maybe I spend way too much time around you.
So if you listen to that vocal very closely, you notice, oh my gosh, it actually sounds kind of flat without this compressor on. It actually sounds a lot more exciting with the compressor on. I think I said that wrong. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. It feels more flat with the compressor off. So if the compressor, this last compressor isn't on, it feels flatter. But when you engage this compressor, it feels a lot more exciting. It's moving within the music in and out, and that's what that compression is causing, and that's where I found it sounded the best as far as what it felt like inside the music. So look at my attack and release settings. I basically went for a medium to fast attack, and I went for a very fast release. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy these settings just so we don't lose them. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play with these settings, and I'm gonna do extreme things so that you can hear what the compressor does. And I promise you that when I move these compressor knobs back to where they were, you'll say, oh, right there, it feels right. And this comes with ear training. So watch this. I'm gonna turn this thing all the way to its right setting, and I'm gonna turn this all the way to its left setting. So right now I'm setting the attack to its fastest, and I'm setting the release to its slowest. Listen closely, and let's find where they belong. Listen close.
I don't know what happened. We went from being so cool to every day we snapping. Maybe we just need some time apart. Maybe these four walls finally closing in on you. Yeah. Maybe I spend way too much time around you. Tell me what I should do to make it better. I don't know what happened. We went from being so cool to every day we snapping.
And you saw that for yourselves. When I moved it from the right to the left, you started to feel, as far as the release, let's stay on release. When I moved the release from the right to the left, meaning its slowest to fastest, you started to feel like the vocal started to open up. And I moved it until the opening up felt nice to my ears. It felt like, oh, right there feels like this kind of sweet spot. Now for the attack, I had the attack all the way to the left, meaning it's fastest. I said, let's slow the attack down until it feels right. And I felt it, and it was like, oh, the vocal is opening up. I feel it, and it feels nice right around here. That is how I like to use multiple compressors to get my vocal to sound the way I want it. So for those three compressors, to review, the first compressor was for our level and to control some of those peaks and transients so that we can get a vocal that was louder but more controlled. Second compressor was for color. I got some color out of the vocal, and I love the tone that I got out of it by choosing what compressor I was going to use. Now, this compressor can be a Pui Chow, a Pultec. It can be whatever compressor that you put on that just has a color that or a tone that fits your song. This comes with ear training, but like I said, pick your poison when it comes to the second compressor as far as color is concerned. Third compressor, I used an R compressor, and the only reason was because I wanted a compressor that had attack and release settings that I can maneuver to basically tame. So the third compressor I used to tame, to find a musical compression style that fit in with the music, that felt more exciting and made it feel a little bit more lively. So I hope that was very helpful. This was my tutorial on why and how to use multiple compressors, even just for one sound source. And this can go for any type of different sound sources that you can use multiple compressors to split up jobs to do this. If I basically took one compressor and just slapped it on, it would be a lot harder to accomplish that sound. Is it wrong? No, absolutely not. One compressor sometimes can do the job. But for some scenarios, multiple compressors being split up to divvy up the work can really help to basically just open up your world to stronger things and things of that nature. So this was my tutorial on why and how to use multiple compressors for even just one vocal, guitars, etc. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe. Make sure you also visit helpmedevvon.info at any time to get some of our templates, vocal chains, and presets to help keep this channel going. Make sure you follow us at helpmedevvon on the Instagram. And if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, make sure you comment below, or you can join our Discord community that is also in the bio below at the bottom. Once again, I hope this was helpful, and until next time, you guys.